Hello, everyone. My name is Benny Ferguson, and welcome to the Strategy of Brilliance. Today's topic is weak parents. And we have to talk about weak parents, of which I was a weak parent. I won't say I'm a weak parent now, I'm in the progress of, but many of you are weak parents and you don't even know it. And the problem with a weak parent, with being a weak parent, is that you are developing weak children. Now, let me tell you what I'm talking about. For me, I've always had an idea of what I wanted my children to look like when they grew up. I want them to be strong. I want them to be critical thinkers. I want them to be independent. I want them to be, the type of individuals that follow their own tone, follow their own music from the inside, weren't easily moved by the masses or peer pressure and all of that stuff that we heard about when we were young. And of course, those things are even greater now with the introduction of social media. But we as weak parents are still failing. And I'll tell you why. Because you're not allowing your children to be fully expressed. And when I say fully expressed, I mean to have their own ideas, to have their own mind, to have their own voice. And we're not doing that because we weren't taught to be that way. I have no doubt that many of you grew up in an authoritative type home similar to what I did. And this is no knock on my parents because they grew up in that type of home and they grew up in that type of home. And if you keep going back, you've got slavery from where a lot of this stuff came from. Whipping your children, dominating over them. That type of thing, that stuff didn't come from, where African Americans originally came from. A lot of that stuff stems from slavery. And moving forward, we still treat our children that way. If you look at it, that we don't allow them to have their own, I wasn't allowed. We don't allow them to have their own voice. Now, if your child speaks their mind, if your child is fully expressed with their ideas at 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and you're 45, 46, 47 years old, most of you can't handle it. You're going to take offense to it. They should just listen to you. They should just be quiet. They shouldn't talk really. They definitely can't have their own voice or their own ideas. You're going to be embarrassed. You're going to take offense. You're going to look bad in front of others if they hear your child being fully expressed. When the truth is, that's what you want. You want them to be that person. And in order to do this, you have to shift your mindset as an adult. You have to shift your mindset out of the right now and out of caring what other people think, and begin to look at it from the standpoint of, who do I want my child to be as an adult? Okay? Do I want them strong? Do I want them independent? Do I want them to be critical thinkers? Do I want them not to be quick to give respect and honor to people that are strangers that they don't know? Well, if you want that type of person, you want your child to be that type of person and to be able to garner success from being that type of person when they're an adult, then you have to allow them to be that person now. And just to coach them from the level of wisdom and understanding that you have gained over your years. But you can't shut them down. See, what happens when you don't allow your child to have their own voice now? You don't allow them to be strong now. You don't allow them to begin to build that level of independence now. It doesn't happen because these things are a mindset. These things are a mentality. And you have to build and develop that now in order for them to be that later. It's not a gear that you shift into. It has to be something that's developed. It has to be something that's groomed and that's grown. But you have to be strong enough as an adult to do it. You have to be strong enough as an adult to allow it. And that requires you to get out of the mindset that you were taught as a child. Oh my goodness. It's such a big deal. It's such a big deal. And I'm so glad that I was able to see it at a certain point, so that I can begin to, in my journey, so that I can begin to really work on myself so that my children could benefit from, the truth is, me just not shutting them down. Because children are already expressive. Children are already strong in their own right. Children already have their own voice. Express it. Yes, it's from a 4-year-old mindset, from a 5, 6-year-old mindset. But that was you at one point also. They have to learn, they have to grow, they have to experience for themselves. And their experiences are going to be different from yours. But it's important for you as a parent to coach that individuality, to coach that full free expression, and not to shut it down because you feel disrespected, because you feel dishonored, because you feel embarrassed, because you're concerned about what other people think. That has nothing to do with the type of person that you want your child to be, especially in today's world, in order for them to be successful. If you're concerned about what other people think and you still raise your child in the same manner that you may have been raised, getting the whoopings, shutting down your voice, telling you that you shouldn't be speaking, not allowing you to speak and to be able to determine your path, to make your own decisions, to make choices, scared to make mistakes, fearful of what other people are going to think of you, bogged down, tied up in the ideas of the masses versus being strong and independent. These are the things that I want for my children. These are the things that I bet you want for your children. But in order for you to do that, you have to get out of the mindset. You have to step outside of what you were taught and how possibly you were treated as a child into something different, into a different way of thinking, into a different way of being for yourself, so that you can teach your children and allow your children to be the type of people that you really want them to be, the type of individuals that you really want them to be. Now, I know this video is kind of long, but it's such a big deal. It's such a big deal as I constantly watch myself to make sure that I'm being the right type of parent that is creating and allowing the person that I want my children to be as an adult. And I hope this video has spurred new ideas inside of each of you that are watching as to the type of parent that you're being and the type of person that you're creating at the moment. Who are you creating in your children? Who are you teaching your children to be? That's the question. Are you really teaching your children to be the type of adults that you want them to be? Or are you teaching them to be a weak, lesser version of the person that they could be? I'm Benny Ferguson. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, or follow, depending on where you're watching this video, and so that you can begin to approach brilliance in your life in any and all areas that you feel are important, that you want to make changes, or that you want to grow in, by beginning to play the only true game there is. And that's the game of mastering your mind. Thank you.